know, so
Well,
they know.
before we start, maybe I'll do a little introduction on you as much as I know about you.
Wow, I want to hear that.
Yeah. So today we're joined by this is how many episodes has it been? This is the second episode. Actually, the first. I didn't put out the first episode. This is the first episode of the new season, Never Off the Boat, season 3. We're back. And I just really don't want to have a solo episode this time. I want to have somebody to talk to. And the other day I was just writing my own thesis. And I thought I would find somebody who live in my hometown, who live in China, who is Estonian. And I want to talk to them about their experience of living there. And I did my research. I found Denise. And Denise is an architect who have worked in China for more than 10 years. And now because of COVID, she's back home in Estonia, but hopefully she will find his way back to China very soon. Fingers crossed. But yeah, today, just like all the other episodes, I don't have a specific topic. I think I got a bit homesick. I've been back for such a long time, and I want to know, like, what's life is like over there in China. I want to talk to somebody who have this first-hand information and not just random people who kind of put together a piece of, an article about life in China right now. But yeah, let's see how the conversation goes, right?
Just to clarify, he, not she.
He.
Yeah.
I get it confused all the time.
I know you guys do.
I get it confused all the time. I don't know why, and I make this mistake just particularly to annoying people because I almost get it mixed.
It's okay.
When it's time to say he, I always say she.
It's because in spoken Chinese there's no gender.
Yeah.
I know I do it the same because
But why do I do it always wrong? Why do I not accidentally get it right?
I see it always being done like this. It's some rule we follow from the heavens.
I always get it wrong. If you're a male, I will always say she.
And if I'm a girl, you say he?
Yeah, always.
Oh, so it's reversed.
It is reversed, and I don't know why. I keep telling myself he's a he.
Mm-hmm.
No, always come out she.
Maybe it's a problem of English. It's not logical.
I think so too. It's definitely not my fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like, I've been here 6.5 years. Yeah. 6.5. I got here 2015 in the summer. And it was, I still remember the day. Like, the first day was always like the most shocking. And I got here, I remember I was getting off of the airport, and I only had like t-shirt with me. Because I thought, like, I need to, if I go somewhere, and it was a summer. In my head, it was the summer. It was actually not summer anymore. It was August 25th. So it was coming to an end over here.
It's end of summer, yeah.
And I had like, I remember a dozen of t-shirt and nothing else. Because I threw everything away. I had one suitcase with me. And I got like maybe 6 or 7 white t-shirt with me in the luggage. And I thought, like, people keep saying that it's going to be super cold in Estonia. So I was like, there's no need to prepare myself for it. I'll just go over there with my t-shirts, and I'll go to the store right away to get all the essentials that like the locals, so I don't have to get it wrong.
You came from Nanjing?
No, I came from Tokyo.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still a warm place.
It was actually warmer than Nanjing. Yeah. So I had no expectation. I came off the airplane. I was like, oh, it's freaking chilly here. Right?
It flew the first day, no?
Yeah, it was freaking chilly over here. But all I had was a shirt, and I went straight to Hobuyama with a bus. And I remember getting airdropped there, and it was just freezing cold, and I don't know where I was. I was like really confused, even though it was mid of the town. I was like, what the fuck did I get dropped in? Because this looks like the countryside. There's nothing here.
Hobuyama is countryside.
I was like, this is the smallest crossroad. And I was like, they must got me the wrong place. And then it took me a while to realize this is the center of the town. And I think the first day, the memory was just all frozen. And it was a really interesting experience coming from a warmer place. And even until nowadays, I think through all these winters, that was the coldest day.
True. I can imagine, because if you come from Shanghai in the end of August,
Yeah.
you're like sweating in Shanghai. August is one of the worst months in the. You already have hope,
Yeah.
right? Because autumn is coming, but it's still like above 30s.
Yeah.
But then you come here and it can be 12.
Are you
13.
from Tallinn?
Yeah, I'm from here. Yeah.
Born and raised?
Born and raised, yeah.
Which area specifically?
I'm from Numa.
Oh, really?
I'm from the suburbs, yeah.
That is a nice area.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Like, do you live in one of those like detached, like single family homes?
Yeah, one of those, yeah.
Yeah, I know those people.
We didn't buy it, we inherited it.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it always hip, like growing up, the area, has it always been known as like kind of a good neighborhood?
I think so. Let me think. Because actually I was not born in Numa, but we moved very, very soon because my grandpa died and we had to take care of grandma. She had a big house, so we moved to her. And I was actually homesick because I was born in Mustamäe. It's this big, well, for Tallinn they are big apartment blocks.
Yeah.
No private space between the houses. And I loved it because I had all my childhood friends there. We had a forest close. So I really loved it. I still love it. And I still think that this one half of me somewhere wants back to Mustamäe.
Yeah.
Because it's carefree life, you know. When the roof is leaking, it's a problem of 70 families. It's not my problem. When the outer wall is ugly, 70 families take care. It's not my personal problem.
It's a communal living, man.
Yeah, in Numa, anything inside this fence is my problem. And I'm not this master of the house type. You know, it takes huge effort for me to. I came home now and I had to fix my roof because we had this huge storm in the summer when I was in Shanghai, and Mom just said, "Yeah, the roof is a bit cracked. It's no problem." And I come and there was a huge hole in the roof, so I had to find out a way how to fix it. It's my problem, my responsibility. I hate it.
Yeah.
But actually, I think Numa has always been kind of good because in the end of the Soviet time. I have seen Soviet time in my life. Like when I was born in Mustamäe, it was a hip place. Because Mustamäe was clean, you had lots of shops, you had schools. It's not like Lasnamäe that you only had houses. In Mustamäe we had everything. We had theaters, cinemas, shops.
They still have those.
Yeah, a bit less comfortable than it used to be. But Mustamäe was new that time. And we knew everyone in the house.
You mean the buildings?
Yeah, the buildings and the environment. Mustamäe was very clean and nice when I was born. But in the end of Soviet time, like the beginning of our restored republic, it kind of went downwards. It became a bit like criminal. It was not so safe. But Numa was kind of same. Like nothing bad really happened. We didn't have criminals so much. Of course, you had theft, but less than in Mustamäe. It was safe on the street. Like I never saw burglars on the street. While is that called burglar? The one who comes and steals your stuff on the street?
Robbers.
Robbers. Yeah, we never had this kind of thing that is not safe on the street. So we moved to Num, and I was still longing for Mustamäe because the Mustamäe I remember was clean and beautiful.
How big is the house? I'm curious.
And it's a 2-story house.
Yeah?
Like all of them. Yeah.
Do you get scared living there? I mean, I'm kind of...
I'm not alone. Why should I be scared?
If you were alone.
But actually, that's a good question. When I was a kid, I saw a movie. You forgot to make an introduction of me, right?
I did.
You did?
Now we gotta fill in the small here and there. Yeah.
Oh, that's a very small gap we're filling now. It's like you take a tooth and you start filling the space between the atoms, you know. Actually, the scary thing is interesting. When I was small, I saw a movie. There are hundreds of movies called The Invisible Man. But this one was particularly bad because they didn't give a solution in the end. like the Invisible Man did horrible stuff, and he didn't die in the end of the film.
Okay.
He survived the film. So for a child, he came into my life. And we have this thing that I'm living on the second floor, and I have to go a staircase, which is kind of separate. And behind the staircase, you have places where you keep stuff. So you have these dark rooms.
It's like the kind of place Harry Potter lived?
I think he would live there,
Yeah.
So you have these little rooms that are dark, and until now, like this is 30 years later now, right? From that time I saw that film, I still need to put the lights on, and when it's evening, I still have to put the light on in our staircase, and I spend as little time as possible to get up. It's scary.
It is.
It's still scary, although nothing ever happened. But some part of me still knows he's somewhere there.
It's kind of embarrassing.
I'm not afraid of robbers or something. I'm scared of this
Invisible Man. Yeah, I know exactly what you. I'm glad you said that, because sometimes I feel embarrassed to ask this kind of question. Like, ask a grown ass man, like, are you scared of big?
What can you do?
Because it's my biggest fear. I live in an apartment, right? It's a 1-bedroom apartment. There's no staircase. There's no upstairs, downstairs.
So you live on first floor?
Yes, but I live in an apartment building, which is a 3-floor building, but my apartment is on the first, right? And it's a really tiny apartment, and you kind of get to see the other end from one end. But I still get terrified at night. If there's nobody there with me, I need to keep all the lights on so I can go to sleep. I just don't know. There's something about darkness that I cannot tolerate.
So it's about darkness.
Yeah.
Do you remember the starting point of that fear?
Yeah, it's when my cousin used to play horrible horror movies, and it's about, like, you know, some I don't know, demons or zombies or whatever. It was scary. Just come from the dark and then choke you and you're dead.
And then you started to be afraid of darkness.
Yeah, I think so.
For me, that film was the starting point.
Yeah.
If I never saw that film in my life, I would not be so scared of that staircase.
And I always thought, like, people who live in a house by themselves, they're calling for troubles, because there's so many places things could go wrong. I don't know what's the specific house you live in, but when I look at those, like, recent American horror movies, I'm like, don't build house like that. Like, for real. You have those crawl space. Dennis is architect.
Yeah,
the crawl space under the floor, you know, the space, like, especially in American context, that they have this area where you can crawl inside
under the house.
Yeah, but it's not a full-on basement. It's just kind of like fended off, but they lift it off the ground, so it's a little bit area to keep the area dry, I guess.
The white ants also, some problem. Yeah, I know. I've seen it.
That's a troubling place. Something bad always happening there. You should get rid of that.
Someone's hiding in it.
Yes. Second thing, always there's this attic space that goes with a ladder that you can pull down from the.
Yeah, we have an attic too.
From the, what's that called, ceiling, and you have this specific kind of scary looking stairs that is normally up there, and there's like this string that you can pull down, and the ladder kind of folds off, and you go up. Again, always something goes wrong with that ladder. If you're trying to run away from somebody, that ladder is going to break. If you go up already and the light goes off, this thing is not going to open. So there's no good solution to this. They should abolish this whole attic things altogether.
But it never happens in reality.
And I don't know. I never lived in one of this house. And why you need a second floor anyway? Like, seriously, there's so much space in Texas. Why do you need a second floor? You just built like one floor. No basement, no attic.
You know, in my house, actually, it makes a point to have second floor because, you know, family is not a stable thing. Family is like, you know, when you get married, I don't know if you have done it yet, when you get children, then that's when people usually build a house. They can't, I need room for myself, for my wife, for my kids, for my second kid, for my third kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then 16 years later, you find yourself in a huge house that is totally useless.
How come? What do you mean useful?
Because your kids go away. Kids are like guests who stay in your house for a very long time, but they go. Like no kid likes to live with their families. I don't know
Really?
why. They always go out.
If I have kids, I want them to live with me.
But they won't. They always leave. Because you live in Tallinn, you think it's a big place. No, they go to London.
Then
You
fuck
live
off.
in a countryside. They like city life. They come back maybe when you're old.
I'll disown them if they go to London.
Anyway, it's like so if you separate the second, then you can give them more independence. Like you can get the kids up or go yourself upstairs, and then you kind of give them more independence. Like I have lived a immensely independent life. I don't think it's always good. Like I see some bad sides of it in my character.
Living independently?
Yeah, like should have had more control. The parents should have had more control on me, I think so. But in a way, having more independence is also good because maybe then the kids stay longer. Because I actually feel I'm living at my mom's place now, right? But I feel like I have my own home. It's just our kitchen is common downstairs, but my home is still a bit like
Is
very
she happy
separate.
that you're back?
You can have one guest only.
Really?
Of course she's happy.
She is.
Yeah, I have a relatively old parent, so I'm a late comer in my family. So in this age, parents usually happy. It's not like in China then, God, he's still at home. Go!
Yeah, I can't get along with my mom very well. Like I'm for sure I like him. I like her. Sorry, her.
Him.
I like her, and I think she likes me as well. But
Think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, does she like you or she owns you?
I don't know yet. But what I'm saying is, like, even though we have this mutual liking to each other, we can't be like with each other under the same roof for a very long time. By very long, I mean 2 weeks.
Okay. But imagine if you have a separation, so you are you have your own door out.
Yeah.
And you have your own, you have this scary staircase between you. Maybe that would help.
It might.
Another thing about living on 2 stories is on the second floor you have a perspective on things. I kind of like it. Like I have a view. In Mustamäe we lived on 4th floor. So it's not like living on the ground. There is some difference. So I like the way our house, in my house, you can change. Like you can go downstairs and feel like you're living in the garden. I want to come back to my home and do it actually, because it's an old house.
Yeah?
In China, you would call this ancient.
Is it a wooden house?
Yeah, it's a wooden house from 1936.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
wooden houses.
And I'd like to open it more to the garden because in the old times to have glass was very expensive, so they made very small windows. Nowadays glass, I think we just don't care too much. We want to have more connection.
Yeah.
So I'd like to open windows so when you're downstairs you feel like you live in the garden. And when you're upstairs you're like...
Did your family build it?
No, it's older than my family.
Okay.
We kind of moved in 1950s. It's a very long story.
I love this kind of story, man. Like, old houses, like, that's the whole thing about me getting my research. Like,
it's like you can't imagine all these people living. Like I'm trying now after these 12 years in China, I find like I want to research who were these people who lived in this house before.
Exactly.
Like there was someone who built the house who we never met. Then there was this immense number of families who lived in the house after the war. Because after the war, the city was...
The Second World War?
Yeah. 1936, I said, right? So there's only one war between me and that. So after this Second World War, we had this... We have like 5 rooms in the house, I think. And I have this book where you registered by law. You had to register people who live in your house, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had to write down their names and stuff. And I think in this book you can see that after the war, there was like every room had a family inside. Not one person in every room. Many people in one room. And still you had only 2 kitchens in the house. And someone was living in the second kitchen, I'm pretty sure about that too.
So you guys rented those places out?
No, because after the World War it was kind of... I don't know what's the relation between the people living in and owning the house. Because nowadays it's only us living in the house.
Mm-hmm.
We don't rent. But then, because you had so many people who needed a house and they didn't have, maybe they were forced to live together, I don't know. No idea.
So like
who were these people and how then this house somehow landed in our family? Yeah. And that was a huge family and now we are very tiny. It's only 2
isn't
us.
that interesting? Like, I mean, like, just having something to explore. Like, oh, I know there's a lineage. I can like kind of trace things back, even though you might not get to the end of it. Maybe get difficult. Maybe like there's some document got missing, and you never find who built the house. But the thing is, it's there. You know it's there, and that kind of
What is that?
Somebody built a house.
Oh, that's true.
Whether you find it out or not, it's not important. Somebody built it.
Then you can invent it.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody built it, and you get to work with that person, that anonymous person. You have to work together, even though you don't know who that person is. That creates such a great tension. I think
Actually, maybe it's even more interesting if
it
you
inspired.
didn't find the document. Because I have done this thing that you go to an archive and you research your family lineage.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what happens in Estonia before, like when you go beyond 1900s, is that you get the names, they're all written down, but they're all Yuri or Mari,
Mm-hmm.
because peasants didn't have family names one moment, and the names,
Really?
like we got our family name like 1830 or something. But if you go further...
Who gives them the name? They just give themselves.
That was a process. Like there was a law that you have to get a family name, and then you could choose, or the local landowners gave you. I don't know how much you know about Estonian history.
I don't. Obviously, not enough.
It's because before 1800. We didn't own the land. The land was owned by nobility, right? This medieval system that the person who is a vassal of the ruler owns the land.
And they have family names?
And of course, they are nobility.
Yeah.
They have these family names that go back centuries. And then the peasants just had a name and the name of the house they lived in. So when you live in a country house, your name is Yuri or Mari, because all they were Christian names. You didn't have pagan names.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of Christian names is super limited. It's like maybe 10 names altogether. So when you go beyond 1800, you find like, okay, there was a Yuri whose wife was Mari, and they had a son who was Yuri and Jan, and it goes super boring. It's not interesting at all. It's not interesting at all. But now I just, as much as I have gone back to the history of my house, I know there was an army man. Oh, you see how this war is coming into the story. Like someone from the First World War. And then he retired and somehow built a house.
How did you even find this kind of stuff?
Because when you have an old house, it has its documents.
It comes with the house?
It does come with the house, yeah. Because somehow war has...
It's like a user's manual.
Yeah. Or like a list of users,
In case you get haunted, you know who is haunting you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We have a list of people who's been living. So it's easy to go to a witch and say, okay, there's a list. Who is that?
Wait, is there actually, besides name, they also have stories about like what they worked as?
No, I googled his name.
Ah.
I just googled his name. Because in the document it just says who they are. After the Soviet time, after 1940, when I get the book of registration. 'Cause I think in Estonian, in our when we were as a country, we didn't have this register of. I haven't seen it, but this book was started 1945 or something, and from this time I know the names of the people and what is their father's name, so you can see if they're related to the people who lived before, and also their occupation.
Are these all archived like in a digital space somewhere?
No, it's in a book.
It's an actual book.
It's in a book. Every time you open it, you destroy it a bit. So if you open it 200 times, it's gone.
That's crazy.
So you have to limit the numbers you open.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I have it at home. Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah, but it's not digital now.
That is so cool.
Your house is a new one?
Yeah, it's built in 2005.
Okay, there's not too much story about it.
No.
But you can trace back. Was there a house before? Was it destroyed to build your house?
It was in Purita, so I highly doubt it. I think it was just like empty.
It's possible.
Yeah?
Purita has been... It's possible.
Yeah?
What street is it?
It's a very tiny street next to a piece of like state forest. It's very close to the Teledom.
Okay. I know that area might have been empty.
Yeah, it's a lot of empty.
But it still belonged to someone. Maybe it was a farmhouse somewhere close. Like you still have something. It's not related to your house, but the land always has a history. The land has a history. It's super crazy. Like how long I've been living in this house, and just a couple of weeks ago I found a photo because there's a house built by a famous architect just next to our house, and I found a picture, and the houses are built same time, 1930s. Like my house probably is the newest one. Still 1936, right? But the newest one. And I found a picture where all these three houses were built, and they took a picture. And you know Noma, right?
Yeah.
What is it famous for? The pine trees. They're like freaking 10 meters high. They're like the palm trees.
I love them. They're my favorite trees.
If I show you that picture of my home from that time,
yeah,
there is not a single tree.
Are they like small trees or just...
No, nothing.
They're not there yet.
There's nothing.
Do people plant
all
those trees?
man-made. Yeah. Like all the fame of Nome is man-made. It used to be a desert, a sand desert.
Interesting.
So they planted the trees to keep the wind from rolling the sand all over.
Was it like a voluntary act by every single household, or somebody like kind of like...
I don't know yet. This I don't know. But somehow when you look around and every plot has this... It looks like a forest now, right?
Yeah, it does.
And they look same old trees somehow. Like my house and my neighbor's house, they have a separation of maybe 20 years. 36, 50. Well, like 15 years or something. But the trees look same old. I don't know. Where did they come from? There's not too many old people alive anymore. We can't even ask.
We're going to be the old people.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
We're never going to run out of old people.
In 20 years, I will be the old person around. Yeah.
I know it's kind of like a abrupt question, but just based on our ongoing conversation, are you like spiritual?
What is spiritual?
Are you like, because you talk about things that I'm personally interested in, like the lineage, you know, like the story of the land and the house. I'm interested in this. I don't know why, but it intrigues me. I want to know, where does all this come from, even though it has no direct correlation with my life, but it means something to me.
No, it doesn't come from being spiritual. It just comes because I come from the time we didn't have internet yet. And I never did sports in my life. So I had lots of time.
Why not? You're not interested?
No, not interested, no. So I had lots of time at my hands. And what do kids do when they don't have internet, they don't do sports, they collect stuff. So I think I'm this collector thing. You collect stories, you collect stamps, you collect coins. It's a collection.
You collect some stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously. Obviously.
Wait. So you were born and raised in Nunma
I was born in Mustamäe, but...
and raised in Nunma.
How do you say? A person 7 years old is already a person, right?
Yeah.
So
in
you
a
could
way.
say I'm a Mustamäe person who's planted into Nunma.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm not born and raised in Nunma,
Got
no.
airdropped into Nunma.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm an immigrant.
And then you spent 12 years, the past 12 years in China.
Shanghai.
In between there, how did that time looks like? Did you go somewhere else? Did you stay?
No, I'm very local. I only lived 5 years in Tartu.
Yeah.
But other than that, all in Tallinn, I'm very like fixed.
Just real quick, tell me, how did you get to China? That's a really far place.
It was 2010, right? When I went to China.
Great year. Great year. I graduated high school.
Oh, that's a great year.
It's a great year.
Really?
Yeah.
This was a time when the Chinese economic bubble was still a big thing. And what people do in economic bubbles is they build houses, right? Because it's the easiest way to put money in anywhere is to build a house, whether you need it or not. So this was a time when China was building a lot, and we had these great architects like Rem Koolhaas wrote a huge book about China. You had MVRDV, so we could say the great Dutch architects, right? Because both of them are Dutch. MVRDV architects, they wrote a huge book about China.
Mm-hmm.
And they all say that China is like a wonderland.
For architects.
Yeah, like you can do immense things, you can do unimaginable things. And somehow we had a chance to go. We got a call, which is kind of a weird call, This was also the time when we got these fake emails from Nigerian generals offering us money.
I still get to this day.
You still do? I haven't got for a long time. I think my trash filter is too strong. Okay, I haven't got these for a long time, but this was the time. And one of these letters was, come to China.
Yeah.
And we picked it up, we went, and I stayed. And it's not a wonderland.
It was a cold open, so it was no previous contact with those people? And
No, just...
Email dropping and then...
Email. It was an email from an agency.
Mm-hmm.
Because then China needed a lot of foreigners. Because, how to say it? Then the Chinese... I'm not like trying to patronize or anything, right?
Please do.
And this might sound what's the good word? This might be like a bit like impolite.
Yeah.
But I have this feeling that this time China was really looking up. Like especially these guys from the countryside. Because you had lots of people from the countryside got super rich.
Yeah.
By selling the land or by corruption, I don't know how. So you had lots of very low educated people who were commissioning immense big projects.
Like for their personal use or
for business, for building residences, for building all kinds of stuff. Because
so
China was
maybe you're also talking about government official thing like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also these government officials, they were super low educated, but they got high positions somehow because you needed government officials.
Uh-huh.
And you had this rapid urbanization, which is still going on. So you miss certain steps in the development. So they were looking like, we want foreign architecture.
Yeah.
So there were lots of companies who were lacking foreign architects. So they needed a foreign architect to look like a foreign company.
That's awesome.
It was kind of funny.
Everybody get what they want.
I don't say it's awesome because I don't actually think because these clients, they were not really very high educated, so they didn't really know what is a foreign architecture, right? So very often it ended up in a Chinese company hiring a foreigner just to look foreign, but they did all the work themselves. I was just like a face for the company. I was just doing some work to not die of boredom. But
did it actually happen like that? You know, sometimes you get hired just for the appearance, but then you actually,
I have even
you don't get to do
I
things?
have even done like an acting tour, because they somehow, their foreign architect was not able to come, so they hired someone who looks foreign. So it was a period of time when you really could do this job. Yeah.
That is really
It's like
funny.
you are an architect, but you have to act like an architect. And it was so weird. The client started talking to me and asking questions, and I'm like, am I supposed to answer? Because this is not my project. And they're like, oh, how to do the facade? And I'm like, can I tell him? Because I have an idea, but
Did this change at one point?
I think it has changed a
Could
bit.
you have faked this all the way through? If
What do
you
you mean?
wanted.
What do you mean?
If you wanted just being an appearance and pretend to be an architect, could you have lived off that just like that without doing any
Oh,
work?
they paid a lot for that. It was a well-paid job. The problem is that in China you can't really live without a job in China. Meaning that if you don't have a fixed job, you can't have a residence in China. I don't know how is it in Estonia. If you lose your job, I don't know if you have a job. You probably have a permanent residency already, right?
I do.
Yeah, but is it tied to a job?
Not anymore. It used to.
So you can be unemployed for 2 years. They will not kick you out.
Yeah, I think right now, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you see, 12 years
Hopefully.
in China, I still need to have a fixed job every time when my residence permit expires. And this happens every 11th month.
Oh, really? Not even a year.
It's called a year, but because there's a bureaucracy to take time, so it's usually 10 or 11 months. So this is one thing that when you see people leaving China, they very often say, I want to feel home. But how can you feel home if every 11th month you have to prove that? I mean, you have to still go through this residence thing.
I have never looked into like visa policy in China. Like,
it's really uncomfortable. Is
there something similar like a permanent resident permit in China?
Yeah, but for this you need to be a talent, or you need to be a high executive in a company, or you need to have very high salaries. So because China only wants, like what they say, they have 3 grades of foreigners. Like officially, we have 3 grades. You have like very wanted foreigners. They're like if you're Einstein, you get it. Like you just go and you get it, right? If you are Alfred Nobel, or if Elon Musk wanted, he would get it, right? Then you have people who, okay, we'll let you in, but you know, would be better if you left, but we can't say that, right? That's what I am. Because a Chinese man makes a perfect architect. You don't need a foreign architect, right?
I don't know.
So they, this has changed. Like maybe 10 years ago, you could say that Chinese architects were not so good because of all these years of turmoil. You didn't have education, but I think now you have very good architects. So you don't really need, and the government understands it. So we are not like. We're not the first grade foreigners. So you get this thing that you have to renew it every year, and you have to, it's a lot of trouble. And then you have a 3rd grade who really have a very hard time to get it. So I can't go to do a cleaning lady in China. Probably you can do it when you come to Estonia, right? Can you?
Yeah. I mean,
can you like, oh, I want to do cleaning work. Can I come to Estonia? Can you?
I mean, I don't know, but just a couple weeks ago, I went to the warehouse and did a day of hard labor because it was just so cool.
Okay, but you're a student also, right?
I guess so. I mean, yeah, I'm still officially registered as a student. Yeah.
Yeah, so in China, it's really hard to feel like local in China. Especially you don't look local either.
Yeah.
And people tend to tell you that. You know, you get this on the street, Lao Wai. It's kind of like, every time they do it, it's like, okay, I'm not from here. But 12 years, you want to be from here, right? I know more about Shanghai maybe than my younger colleagues because
you know more than Shanghai than me, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they are always more Shanghaian than I am because they look like more.
12 years, always in Shanghai.
Yeah, I'm not very dynamic, actually.
Are you still dating somebody who's from China right now?
Yeah, I'm actually, I am, yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
How is it going, if you don't mind disclosing that?
I think it's doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Depending on that, we haven't met already more than half a year. Yeah.
Is that the reason why you want to go back?
And it's the only reason, yeah.
It's the only reason?
Right now, it's the only reason. Also, it's because, you know, if you have a process in something, you do something in your life, right?
Yeah.
You start doing it, then you do it, and you want to finish it, right? Like when you write a book, you want it to come out, for example.
Yes.
Well, I think like my being in Shanghai is also like this. I went there, I was in a process of it, and there are things I want to still do. Like I really fell in love with the old town in Shanghai.
There's an old town there.
Surprise! Yeah, there is an old town.
Huh.
You have it in 1902. It's just a bit bigger in Shanghai.
I didn't know.
Oh, there is an old town. Yeah, there's like. You don't want to get a history lecture of Shanghai history, do you?
I didn't even know there's an old town in Nanjing.
There is.
They had a war, I know.
But you have Wenmiao, right?
They had the wall, but inside the wall, it doesn't. It's like indistinguishable from the outside of the wall nowadays.
But you have Wenmiao.
Not sure, maybe.
Wenmiao, like the Confucius temple.
Fuzimiao.
Fuzimiao, yeah. In Shanghai, we call it Wenmiao.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have Fuzimiao area. This is
That's everything is rebuilt, yeah.
True. Well, Shanghai was like this, that since the times immemorial, it used to be some kind of fishing village that became, zhen, like a county
village,
or something. Yeah. And then it had this, because it's not a government city, it's just a commercial city. It was round. Because usually Chinese cities are square, like in Beijing, like I think Nanjing too. But this is round. It's amazing. Like you still see this round thing in the street pattern in Shanghai. The wall is gone.
That's cool.
And then you had the foreigners come in 1800s when they had this opium war and stuff, and they did some nasty stuff, and in return, like in the history, you do nasty stuff as a country and you get rewarded.
Nice.
Like when I throw a stone into my neighbor's window, I get punished, right?
Oh, I did that.
But when I take a war against another country, you get land for this, right?
That's the logic.
Yeah, that's the logic. So don't throw stones. Take an army to your neighbor's house. Okay, so they got this land in Shanghai. So you had the Chinese old town, which was kind of running down because you had the foreign parts, which were like upscale and getting richer. So, and then you had the years of turmoil, the Mao Zedong era, which kind of preserved the city because you spent time in doing the revolution. You didn't have time to build a new city.
Yeah, that's it.
Right?
It was kind of ignored.
That's the same why we have Old Town in Tallinn, because we've had long periods in history when we didn't have money to build a new city. So we just kept the old one.
Wait, do you live in the old town in Shanghai?
So we live in this foreign part of the old town.
Is it nice?
It's very nice. It's super, super nice. It's almost like you live in where I'm working now. You know Pelgolin?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Harjaberg Street, Ristiku Street, where you have these old wooden houses.
Ristiku. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we don't have these wooden houses in
It's
Shanghai.
kind of like Galamaya area.
The feeling is very Kalamaya. Very Kalamaya. Except it's more lively. There's more
Are they short
restaurants.
buildings over
Huh?
there? Not so tall buildings?
No. 2-3 story.
Really?
It has very Tallinn feeling in it.
And it's a middle of the town?
Yeah.
How come? I thought they're like all eradicated. Like
It's because you had the Cultural Revolution when you didn't have time to destroy houses. Because you spent 20 years without educating new architects, with killing all your economy and some people in the process. So you didn't have energy to destroy the old towns. You had to use it because you didn't build new, right? And you didn't have a war that would destroy the houses, all of them.
Are there business in the area right now?
It's very hip. It's like Kalamaya in Tallinn is one.
So it's hip.
It's very hip, yeah.
Nice.
And the old town. But I didn't fall. First, I fell in love with the foreign thing. But then I discovered the old town, like the Chinese old town of Shanghai, which is even more amazing because it's like messy. It's super messy. You know, in Tartu, I'm jumping into Estonia back, right? You know Tartu, right?
I do.
You probably know Estonia more than I do. The current Estonia, not the history. Like in Tartu, there is one very messy area which is called Shanghai. And I never understood why, because for me Shanghai was skyscrapers, right? And why would you say, because there are these huts made of like just some random stuff. And why do you call this Shanghai? And then you go to Shanghai Old Town, you understand. Because Shanghai Old Town used to be a village, like just a very dense village. And during the anti-Japanese war, they bombed the old town. So you had lots of holes in the old town. Like in Tallinn, they destroyed the old parts of the old town. But after the war, because of all these messy things that came after the war in China, because the development really started 1980s, right? What was before was kind of messy, you would say. Not very beautiful times. So people have to live somewhere. So they started to build their own houses out of stuff they could find. Exactly like in Tartu, this Shanghai. And then this whole town.
That's what I got curious about. Who gave it a name? Who knows that about Shanghai to give it?
I have no idea.
That is a genius.
You have to research.
That is a genius. He knows his stuff, or her stuff.
And then you go in Shanghai and this old town. It's so. You know, China is very controlled. Everything, every house you build, you have a license and you have a government-related developer, and everything looks same. Then you go to the old town and it's messy. It's not planned. It's built as you need it. Oh, I need one room. I built one room. I need another room. Okay, let's add one room. I need a toilet. Okay, let's add a toilet here. I need one more room.
Do they have like plan to demolish it?
This is what is happening now. Like, this is the thing I wanted to say. I fell in love with this old town and I joined a group where we draw Shanghai. Like, it's called Drawing Shanghai. We go every weekend and we draw the city. And we used to go to the foreign part of Shanghai because it's very picturesque and people love it.
Like the Bund and all that?
The Bund, and also you have this Yuan Faguo Chu.
I don't know.
Faguo Zu Chu. It's the old foreign parts.
Okay.
Like Nanjing Lo. Like Nanjing Lo, like what is the main part that goes past my home? Huaihai.
Okay.
All these areas. I don't know how badly you know Shanghai.
I have no idea what you're talking about. but
Okay.
Go
And
ahead.
then we went drawing there. But this part is not very big. And it's very orderly. So I started to drag the drawing Shanghai into the old town. Because the old town is really like, you have these shabby houses. I have a blog about our drawing you can see later.
Okay, I will.
Like they have these super shabby houses. Each house is worth drawing it a whole day. It's amazing. And then what happened is they started to sanitize it. Like, because it was messy and it was dirty. You had the markets on the street. You had wet markets on the street, mind you, right? And then they started to sanitize it. They started to remove the wet markets. And what happened just before COVID, they started to move people out. Like now, when you go to the old town, it's very clean.
Mm-hmm.
But also there are no people inside. Like you have an area which is like in diameter, maybe 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers.
But
Like
only
a
the
circle.
business moved out, or all the residents moved out? as well?
Everyone. Like they have been buying people out from the old town and moving them to the outskirts.
Oh, so they're permanently relocated.
Mm-hmm. They permanently relocated.
But what they gotta do with this plot?
Nobody knows. Because you know the system in China that nobody knows nothing.
It's left standing right now?
Yeah.
As is?
Yeah. So if you go to the old town, you can spend like hours moving on streets where there's nobody. Like a ghost city. You would love it at night.
This is in the middle of the town?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
It's like between the city and the Bund.
That is insane.
It is super insane.
That is insane.
Like if you imagine in Tallinn that someone would take the old town and just move people out from it.
I mean, is it just me thinking like, can I just squat there be a squatter? Because, you know, like there's a lot of people...
But they closed the windows. You know, we are still a society of control. Like, like there's someone is in control of this process.
So somebody's looking after it.
Because it's very clean now. They take care of this area. They have shut the windows. Like they have put the boards on the windows. They have walled in the doors so you can't go in anymore.
Because I just saw this documentary a while ago by Vice, and they were documenting this bunch of like French kids, like youngsters, and they couldn't afford living in Paris anymore, right? Because the price is so jacked up. And they just figured out there's this rule about squatters. Once you live in a house incognito for a while, you claim to live there, you got the legal ground to stay in there.
In Paris too?
Yeah, I think it's squatter's right.
No, you don't have this in Shanghai.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Personal independence, what do you mean?
That's what I was thinking.
No, that's not possible. Nevertheless, saying that, because this village is like, really it looks like a village, right? But 100 years, more than 100 years ago, this was Shanghai. This is where Shanghai actually came from. Like Shanghai first was this old town, and then came the foreign parts, and then came the explosion. So this is the heart of Shanghai, which means that rich people used to live in the old town first. So when you dig in it, you find like real architectural gems. Like you find very well carved houses and stuff. And there was one philanthropist. Actually, he was a businessman because that's why he could afford to be a philanthropist, right? You can't be a poor guy and a philanthropist and be famous and host. He hosted. I'm talking about this house now, so we get to Einstein, like Albert Einstein. He visited Shanghai, and I stayed in this house. And this is a beautiful house and has a garden. Used to have a garden, so you have a gate, and you go in, and there's a garden inside the compound. And this compound was cleaned of people, and they closed the door. and several times the door was broken and people moved back in.
Like the owners or just random people?
I don't know, I didn't talk to them. But it happened several times. Now it's totally closed. So I think there was some kind of problem because they usually say that 90% of people agree to relocate right away. But you always have these, like in China, you have this thing like 钉子户.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you always have like 5% of 钉子户 in the society.
Yeah.
Who, whatever you pay, this is my home, I don't want to move.
I don't want to move.
Yeah, so this has been a very interesting time in the old town that you have these 钉子户who are really angry about the government, which means they're friendly to you. Right? So
You, not me, you.
no, to people who are interested in this area.
Mm.
Because government looks like this is some kind of rubbish. We should just nuke it and it's good. But you come here, it's not only me, it's many local people.
Those
go
people
there.
will take interest in their place, you mean?
Yeah, someone comes and says, oh, your home is interesting.
Mhm.
Wouldn't you feel like, oh my God, yeah, oh really?
Yeah.
Huh? So these are really the fans of the area who have stayed.
Uh-huh.
And then you can go visit the houses because I have this feeling that when people are living in a house, I'm too shy to go and ask, can I see your rooms? Right? But when there's only one guy left on the street, you kind of feel like he's gonna move out anyway.
Yeah.
He just is waiting for more money to come on his bank account and then he can move. So you go and and what's even more interesting is that what's the process of your house is that when you move out they close the door, like they wall in your door, like they put bricks on it so you can't go in.
Oh, really?
And then the cleaning team comes. So you have this street of empty houses, all the doors are like, you'll see in my blog. And it's super sad actually. But then the cleaning team comes house by house. What they have to do, they open the doors. So when you go on the weekend, sometimes you can get into the houses
Mm-hmm.
without even asking people to go into their houses because they're not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the doors open, then you see all these really beautiful mansions.
Would you do that?
Yeah, we did many times. That's why I feel like I want to go back to Shanghai because the old town is still there. And it's kind of like in this big megapolis. I feel like it's like opium for me, this old town.
Is it?
Like I go there and I feel happy. Like I can spend days in the old town without feeling bored or tired or something. It's like opium, yeah.
Is it making it more special just because you know there's an end to it?
Maybe, I don't know. But I liked it before also. Maybe it's only also because it's very Chinese. Like I've been living 12 years in Shanghai,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not China. Shanghai is not China. I mean, it's the wealthy and new China, but
I know what you mean.
there's not too much Chinese in it, no?
Yeah.
So, but when you go to the old town, it's messy, it's dirty, but it's also very local. That's why I like it. And I've been telling me I go to China on the weekends. And it's not because it's messy, but it's because it's something very special. You don't have this outside China. But now it's more interesting. You can go into houses because there's no one living in there.
Very cool.
The problem with this old town is that no matter if the people could stay in the houses or they were relocated, the old town would disappear anyway. Because there were poor people living there. And poor people who don't own a house,
Mm-hmm.
they just have a right to live in it. But it's not really my house. And every time government can move you out, means you don't take care of the houses. Like if you see Tallinn,
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago, you don't recognize. I don't know if you've seen old pictures, like from the Soviet time. It looks dirty. The houses are not painted.
Okay.
Like Kalamaja was about to be demolished 20 years ago because it was so shabby. Then all of a sudden we discovered we can renovate these ugly houses.
Yeah.
But in Shanghai they still have this attitude that I have this house but I don't have a toilet. Let's demolish and build a house with a toilet. You know?
Do you guys have a toilet?
Of course we do. We live in a decent house.
Really?
Yeah, but
I grew up living in a house with no shower.
in Myanmar we don't have a shower. We have a sauna.
Our first house, which I don't remember anymore, I lived there with my parents for the first 1.5 years of my life.
Uh-huh.
And that's because they both work for a state-owned company, working class. They built trains, like trains.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
Trains, like road there.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
they built train, and my dad is like an accountant who deal with numbers, so he's like a higher class, like intelligent man. And my mom literally works with like those metal balls that goes into the mechanism inside the train's wheel. So
it's a very important thing.
It need to be lubricated all the time to keep it running smoothly. And they met in the company, and they were assigned an apartment. At that time, everything was assigned by the company. So they got assigned that place.
Like a downway home.
Yeah, like a home not far away from my grandma's place. And it was a home that they described to me. I have no recollection of it, but they were describing it to me like it was just one room. It was a square box, and inside there was nothing else. And
3 people living in it.
Yeah, and you cook outside. So there's like this open air cooking area where you have all the, I guess, the gas stove and all that. And you share with other neighbors who live on the same floor.
You share the stove of the space where the stove is?
The stove and everything. It's all like communal. There's a cooktop over there, and the cupboard and everything. The cookware and all that.
So you have to queue to cook your meal.
Yeah, you do have to coordinate. And they have no toilet and no shower. And they have
you had the bucket.
They have a night bucket for emergency, but I heard because they were so hygienic, they don't use it. So they would go walk half a block down the road to go to a dry toilet that is used by the whole area, right? And there was like by dry toilet, I mean like dry toilet. There's no flushing. There's no.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was just a hole on the ground, right? And then later they upgraded to one of those Khrushchevka style building, like the one we have in Mustam, pretty much identical. When my dad came and visit, I was like, "Whoa, this feels very homey."
Really?
Like, yeah, this feels exactly like our first home, like our proper home where 3 of us live together.
All right.
We're on the 3rd floor. We have a tiny ass toilet that has, again, a hole in the ground. And there was no facility to take shower. And
like a squatting toilet.
Yes.
I love squatting toilets. I think it's so kind of clean.
Yeah, it's
because you're in a position. No, but it's also because you're in a position where you get the least dirty.
You have no contact with that facility. Yeah.
I love squatting toilets a lot.
And according to my dad and my parents, they will say it's also good to leverage all your strengths to push it out. I don't
exactly.
I don't know if that's true.
I think it is.
But we had that toilet, and I remember my parents were so happy about it.
You have your own toilet.
Yeah, they were so happy about it because my mom liked to spend time in the toilet. I don't know what she was up to.
Texting.
Yeah, but she was always there. At that time, they don't even have a phone yet. They had
what would you do then?
They had a pager.
Knitting? Oh, pager.
That was an old time. In the 90s.
I remember pagers. I never had one, but I remember. Beep, 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 beep.
And if we want to take a shower, we go to a public shower, like a bathhouse, which was like 10 minutes walk from our place. I remember holding this one plastic bucket, and inside we have all the washing materials, like a towel and soap, basically. That's it. And we go there, and inside, it's a fascinating place. They demolished it a couple years later while I was in high school, but I remember it was such a fascinating place. You just have these rows of seats made of wood, and people would be resting on top, and the whole place is misty. When you go inside, just see naked man with a dick out, and rolls of fatties just like lying there. And you go inside, there's a whole economy that runs inside this bathhouse. There's people who sells candy and drink. There's this one guy who help people like clean the back. You have like this little wooden kind of a contraption, and people lie on top, and they would use some kind of special things, and they would rub you, and all the dead skin coming rolls like pastas. And then you have these 2 pools, public bath, and then on the other end you have all this
pools like where you can dip in.
It's more like for you to sit in there and you just enjoy the bath. It's like
Okay.
warm water,
Mm-hmm.
and it's definitely green for some reason.
Green, is it because of the chemistry?
I got no idea.
Because many people get in the same water.
It was a
right?
gray and green, and I never dared to go inside. My dad said never to go inside.
I wouldn't go on.
Yeah. But the shower is rows of just like those roll pipes. They go up, and then there's a very simple contraption that sprays water down.
It's not just the tube.
Not just the tube.
Oh, in Shanghai sometimes it's you go to swimming pools and the place where you need to shower, there's just the tube coming down. So the water is coming in, a stick of water is coming down.
Some of them are like that, because I remember some of them broken and nobody was fixing them. And those are my favorite, because you have such a strong current. And I remember it was the time that I first got introduced to shampoo. Before that, we always washed everything with 1 bar soap.
Mm-mm.
And when we first got shampoo, I don't know how to wash it off, because it was, even after washing it off, it still kind of feel like shampoo-y, right?
Yeah.
And the spray head just doesn't work for me. So I would just go down that stream of water and just go crazy with it. And that's you get the cleanest with. But I really miss that place, because like I never felt inconvenienced by the fact that we never had a shower. Later, like nowadays, I couldn't imagine like living in a house without a shower.
But you go there like, how often would you go there?
I'll say once or twice a week.
So you only wash once or twice a week?
Yeah, the rest of the time we will like have a bucket at home, and we'll wash like our buttholes and wash the feet.
But how do you feel like because what I see, my house in
You have a shower?
like I'm getting to that point. We used to have a bath in the house.
Oh, that's great.
But when we moved into the house, somehow my parents didn't find it important enough to have a bath in the house. So they destroyed the bath and they built a sauna, which you need to heat up. So we have it once a week. And the rest of the time is like you explained, except we don't have a bucket, we have a sink for that, right? But I remember when I was young, despite we had they already destroyed the bath that time when we moved in. We also had this public sauna. In Noma we had like 3 of them. They're all gone now. None of them left. I think so. And you go there and you meet people. It's like social also, right? Like your parents must know these people who go to the sauna.
Super social. It is super social.
So we met and you see, oh, that's my schoolmate. That's my schoolmate. Not my father's. I love that. Yeah. Oh, this is all gone. Like what I hate about Noma. I mean, what I really don't like is it's not social at all. Like everyone is in the capsule. You have the fence. Everything you need for your home is inside. I mean, for your living.
Yeah.
So you have your shower, you have your sauna, you have your garden, you have your dog. Everything, you don't talk to others. So it's not like village. It looks like a village, but actually it's like block of flats that's just spread around.
Was it used to be different?
Yeah, when I was a kid, we knew all the neighbors around us, like all of them. But if we didn't know, our neighbors wanted us to know. Like we had this, like across the street in the diagonal, there were these people whom I, as a child, I never talked to, and they were Russians, the only Russians in our neighborhood. But we didn't talk because the Russians, there was no link because they were in diagonal, like a bit far. And but he taught his kids that you have to say hello to your neighbors. So when you were like taking care of the sidewalk, the kids were walking by. Dere, who are you? I don't know you. But you know, it builds the link. You know, you say hello to each other.
Are they still there?
I don't even know these people, but we hardly talk to neighbors. There are some neighbors who are older, so we still talk. Younger neighbors, not too much. But, you know, we used to have gates between you know what Nome is, that you have the plots, right, side to side. Then you have a gate going out of your plot to the street. That's it. But we used to have gates between the houses. So you can go to your neighbor without going to the street.
Oh, really?
None of these gates are there anymore. Like, zero. We never do this. Even if you want to go to your neighbor, you have to go walk around. But you usually don't.
Use a public door.
Yeah, and
no exceptions, huh?
But Nome is kind of... There's something new coming in Nome, is that you have Facebook. So you don't talk to your neighbors, but somehow you talk to the community, and you don't know what these people look like because you only get the names in Facebook, right? And you don't look at the pictures. So you get this neighborhood watch thing. Like if you're drunk and you walk on the street, you get noticed and posted on Facebook. There's a strange guy walking.
I know those Magadut Numma.
Margot, no, yeah. It's like, there was a strange guy walking on the street. They care.
Yeah.
We had this thing. I brought a dog to my mom from the dog. What do they call the dog asylum? The pets asylum. It's in Pailasara. It's super far from our home, like 12 kilometers by walking.
In Pohjatallinn.
Yeah, Pohjatallinn. Yeah. You know, you have these two peninsulas.
Yeah.
And we went there. We took an old dog because they didn't give us a young dog. And we brought it home, and the dog ran away. It liked the asylum more than our home. And I posted in the Noma locals group in Facebook. And people noticed that you have a dog walking on the street without a master.
That's crazy.
Like 3 people reported. I could dot where the dog is going, and it actually walked back to the asylum.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine walking from Noma to Pailasara on your own when you have a dog's brain? I don't know how this works. I can't I know myself how to make this road.
Did you respect the dog's opinion and let him live?
Yeah, we didn't go to fetch it.
Yeah.
Let it be in the asylum. Come on, you want the asylum, right?
So you've been back for how long now?
Since August, so it's like a bit more than half a year.
Promise to tell me what happened. Why can't you go back?
Oh my God, that's a long story. It started with this thing that I got COVID in October, and after COVID, you know, in China they have very hard regulation. How you can go into China right now. It's not only that you need the PCR test to be negative, you also have a very specific antibody test that needs to be negative.
Okay, can you get it done in Thailand?
And then this antibody test was positive very long time. It takes like 3-4 months to get it negative.
Just because you got COVID?
Yeah, just because I got COVID, you know, antibodies are bad. Can you imagine? Didn't we just want to have antibodies, right? But they want you clean. So I waited, and then it got negative in January. And then I got a flight in March. And then two things coincided. As you know, in China, they have now this limit how many COVID positive people an airline is allowed to bring into China.
I didn't know.
And the limit is 10 people.
On a flight?
On a month.
On a month?
Yeah. So if you bring 10 people who are COVID positive, I'm not sure if it's a month or 2 weeks, but doesn't make a very big difference, right? You know how easy it is to get COVID here. And then this limit got full. So they banned Finnair from flying for 2 weeks because of these 5 or 10 people.
So the flight got cancelled?
Yeah, the flight got cancelled. But it was actually good because 2 weeks later, when I got this news that my flight is cancelled, the war started. And then all the flights over Russia were cancelled.
How is that good news?
I mean, because
You got get cancelled anyway.
I would say the war is a terrible news, right? But the good news is that I got to postpone my flights a bit earlier. Because it would have been cancelled because of the war anyway.
I see what you mean.
So I could book a new flight earlier. So now Finnair is flying around Russia. Can you imagine?
They're still flying?
Yeah. They decided to fly around Russia. So what takes 9 hours usually takes 15 hours now.
Wow.
So they fly over all these Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, all these things.
Uh-huh.
Or they take a northern route from the North Pole.
Oh, that looks pretty challenging.
Depends how the winds go. So it takes 15 hours to get back to Shanghai from here. I'm trying again in May. I don't know if this happens.
You haven't booked?
I have booked, but I had to rebook my flights already 5 times.
I heard it's insanely expensive now.
Yeah, but I have my ticket. Like now it's insanely expensive, but also very flexible. Like Finnair doesn't ask
for additional
money
fee?
For rebooking, yeah. And they don't even ask why you're doing it. You can just, please, and they do it. So I've done it 5 times now.
That is awesome.
Hey,
I hope you make it this time.
I've stopped thinking positive, negative about this. It's just
Because
a movie. My life is a movie now.
There is a potential for it to be cancelled again, right?
I might get COVID again.
Why?
Because there's still COVID around here.
That's true. You never
Right?
know.
And to get Omicron, you can be vaccinated.
That's true.
You can be recovered from, you still get it. So anything can happen. The war can escalate.
And your visa expires on May?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens then?
I have no idea. I'm not thinking so much. It's too... You see, this is how you start looking at your life like a movie. Like, how do you watch a movie? It's like you get engaged.
Yeah.
But you stop, but you don't rule it, right? You just watch it.
Yeah.
So you are engaged, but it's just running. Because I want to go back to China because I have my boyfriend there. I have my Shanghai friends. And I have the old town, my opium is there.
That's cool.
So I want to go back, but I'm not hoping too much on anything right now.
How is your boyfriend taking it?
I guess we are lazy people, so we just let it go as it's going.
Has he visited Estonia?
Actually, he has, yeah.
Yeah?
But I'm a bit worried. Would a Chinese person actually enjoy living in China, in Estonia?
In Estonia?
Do you?
I enjoy it.
Why are you here?
I enjoy it.
Why did you come here?
I came here to study for anthropology.
Why do you come here?
Because
it's cheap?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like, all my education are paid for. Like, by the good old taxpayers in Estonia.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it's free?
It's free, and they give me scholarship too.
You mean you came to Estonia already, was free?
Yeah,
Oh, that's good. I like my country now.
it is great.
Because giving education is good advertisement, no?
It was not by default, but it was on the, I guess it was on merit.
Because you were good.
Hopefully, hopefully that was what we consider merit.
Okay.
But yeah, I was in Japan doing my bachelor, and I met my ex-girlfriend, who was Estonian, and then we moved here together because I was kind of confused as for what to do.
So you moved here because of the woman?
No, I wouldn't say that.
But you came with a woman.
See, I don't think I came for that, because even before I met her, I was thinking either I was gonna go to Estonia or Slovenia.
Big difference. Why this choice?
Very meticulous consideration has been done at that time.
Really?
Which I don't remember anymore.
You mean before you came to Estonia?
Before I
you
even
had
met,
these two choices?
Yeah, before I even met that Estonian girl, I had two choices in my head. After my graduation, I was either go to Slovenia or Estonia.
Any ideas why?
I vaguely remember that I need to go to a small place with small population, but people speak really good English.
Liechtenstein.
And cheap.
You think Liechtenstein is expensive? Probably.
I would assume.
Luxembourg. Andorra.
Yeah. But I narrowed the choices down to Estonia and Slovenia at that time.
Is Estonia cheap?
Not particularly after I got here.
It's not, right?
Yeah. Not particularly cheap. But I will say like it's an honest price. It's a price that you know what you're paying for. Yeah.
It's not like Sweden or something.
There's not a lot of things that you're like paying and you're like, oh, what am I paying for? Here, like if you're paying something, you know what are you paying for, even though it might be a little bit expensive. At least I know what I'm paying for.
Like what?
For example, like I would say, if you're paying for food, right? You go to the grocery store. Things are priced with a certain kind of hierarchy. You know, like you have choices that are going to be cheap and meet your daily livelihood. For example, milk and bread. They're very reasonably priced. And you can also go fancy. If you want to get some Argentinian prime rib or whatever, you're paying for the transportation.
True.
You know? But when I go to Iceland, it was a totally different experience. I'm picking up an apple and I'm like, what am I paying for here? Transportation?
Yes. It's Iceland. Nothing grows.
I get it, but it's really hard for me to register that. You know, I have to pay euros for one apple.
Iceland. Look at the geography. I think they don't grow too much over there, no?
Yeah, I figured that, but I think Estonia was on my mind all this time, but even before coming here. But after getting here, of course, I had fear. I had like a fair bit of like hesitation as for when is a good time to exit, when is a good time to leave. Maybe I had enough of it. It happened like every 3 months and every winter, and every bad time. Whenever there's a problem, I pin it on. It must be Estonia. It must be this fucking country, man. If I can just live here, if I can just leave here, all my problem is gotta be gone. I'm gonna be happier. But no, I think I'm persistent that way. I will see how it ride out. Once that bad time is gone, you kind of realize it's never the place's problem. Whatever the problem might be, it's not the problem. I mean,
and what problem is it?
I don't want to admit it, but it's my problem, probably.
Oh, okay.
But I try not to admit it.
Isn't it kind of like you have a relationship with another person? And then you see that most of the problems come from here?
No, it's definitely the other person's problem.
Is it?
In terms of relationship. I always blame the other person. It's easier that way for me.
And how long have you been together now?
It's always my problem. But yeah, I mean, like, I like it here. I keep saying that. It's like, I hate just directly throwing at your face. It's not trying to, like, say good stuff and say, hey, I like this place. It's not even that.
You know, by the way, you can be honest with me.
Yeah,
I'm not Estonian anymore.
I am honest with you. And to be honest, I wouldn't use the word I like it. I wouldn't use it. I think it doesn't really describe how I feel. I think it's just it feels like a place I live because I do feel like I live here, which is a really hard realization to come to.
Place that you live in. You mean you're like from here?
No,
Do you have this feeling?
not in that sense, but previously for a long time I feel like I was visiting. You know, it kind of feel like a prolonged visit in some sense. But now I do feel like I'm somehow, I wouldn't say connected, but I feel like I'm a part of it now. There is more reason to stay than leave. I have my research. I have people that I care about here. I have friends. Not so many. I have 2 friends here.
Okay.
And besides that, I have my partner. I have
2 friends. That's not so many.
Yeah, I have 2 friends. 2 people I can call friends.
Estonians or foreigners?
They're both Estonians. I might be working on a third friend, but let's see. I have 2 friends, and besides, I have this lovely apartment in Puritan that I enjoy.
You own it or you rent it?
I own it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you really have a home.
Yeah, I really do have a home.
Okay,
and
you're lucky.
I try my best to take care of it too. I have my hobby. I like working with wood over here, and there's
working with wood.
Yeah, I do like handicraft, small wooden pieces like knives and stuff. So yeah, it's a really great it's a great place for that because there's local artisans who like this kind of stuff, work with wood. There's a lot of people who are really good at this, and I feel like there's more reason to be doing things here than anywhere else. Even though sometimes I do complain about the long winter with darkness, but it's a price you pay.
But this winter has been special, no?
Is it?
Among all your 6 winters, don't you find this is special? Because this kind of winter I have not seen many in my life.
I mean, I don't mind the cold. I just don't like.
I don't mean cold, but the way you have snow all the winter. Yeah. It's like light.
I just don't like the darkness.
But if you have snow, you have less of it.
That's very Estonian of you to say that, but you know.
No, it's true.
It is.
Imagine a winter that is just endless November.
In a way, that is marginally better, but doesn't make much of a difference, I think.
Really?
To me, yeah.
Oh.
I get a bit depressed when there is not enough sunlight. I wither and.
We go to the south for winter.
Yeah.
Like many Estonians have some place to go, like to the Canary Islands or to Spain.
That is very fancy.
We always traveled when I lived in Estonia, we always traveled in the winter. You always go to Mexico, or you go to Spain, or you go to India. It's always in the winter.
I don't know, I'm not a very mobile person. If I'm living a place, I try to stay year round and stick with it, you know? I hate the idea of like this recent whole narrative about a digital nomad. I fucking hate that. It's
you want to be local.
No, it's not even that. I feel like those are the fucking guys that they want the best of everything. They come here and it's great summer here. You don't need air conditioning, right? And they live here.
2 weeks you do.
Yeah, they live here. And then the rest of the year, when the weather goes bad, and then they take a plane, they go to Bali or somewhere, and they hide out for another 6 months. I get it. You're the best, all right? You have the ability to do that. Good for you. But I don't know. I'm not with that. I don't find that.
You know, I don't like to leave. Why I say this is a special winter? Because in my memory, when I came to Estonia this time, and then I started to get used to the idea that I have to run into November, and then I had to postpone my flight from November to January. So instead of a late summer, it became the whole set of seasons. I'm only missing the summer now because the summer was finished when I came. There was no summer anymore. So I see that this year is very clear seasons. because I think it's because we're having La Nina, you know, La Nina, El Nino, the global weather cycles when you have the fires in Australia. So I think this is one of the cycles when you have the cold winter in the northern hemisphere. So we had this beautiful summer, a bit hot, and then the autumn came and all the colors. You know, you have this gradually, the trees get colorful. It's like, there's nothing so beautiful in Shanghai, nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like green, brown, ugly. Green again, brown, ugly. It's like this cycle. There's no, like autumn of Tallinn, it's like immense. Now in Shanghai they try to put more ginkgo trees, the inching, so you get some colors. But autumn is just ugly. And but you get these colors, and then the leaves go. And one of my favorite films is November. Do you know the film November?
I don't.
You should watch.
It's an Estonian film.
And it takes place in November, and you know everything is dark and raining and depressive. And I was waiting for the first November of my 12 years. I was waiting, and it didn't come. Because somehow the beautiful autumn ran into a snowy winter. There was no November, so I'm missing this dark and depressive November when people go suiciding all over. No. And then you have the snow, and like this weekend I went to Rakvere. Been to Rakvere, no?
Many times.
You don't like to move around, eh? Like, no, it's so beautiful in the castle. You know, there's this castle in the middle, and then you have the hill.
Yeah.
And it's like snow, and you have sun, which is really like hot. So you can sit outside, enjoy, and the snow, and it's white.
That is great.
But usually you don't have this. Because winter is dirty and there's no snow. So now how the snow is like every morning I go out. I have developed a nasty habit to not go to the toilet, but to go out in the morning when it's number one. It's because of COVID. I couldn't share the toilet with mom when I had COVID. I have only one toilet in the house. And now I discovered it's so beautiful. You go every morning and the snow is a little bit less. And you go every morning, so you get the change, you know. You see how here we have snow today. Oh, it's gone. It's moving. So it's very beautiful seasons. In Shanghai, you don't have this.
Does it get any snow in Shanghai?
Oh, maybe once a winter or something. I've seen ice because it gets sometimes icy. Like I've seen the fountains all nice. I remember these, but snow, maybe just the morning. But if you sleep late, you don't see it. It gets snow in Nanjing, no?
No, not at all.
Not at all, but you're more in
the snow doesn't stay.
Yeah, but
it does fall.
Maybe it's for an hour or something.
For a bit, you do see a little bit of whiteness on the ground, but it goes away very quickly.
We don't. I think we have just. Yeah, I've seen some whiteness, like you say.
You know, the year that you went to China is the year that I left. So we kind of had this, like...
We switched.
Yeah, we switched. You went there and I left.
Okay, so there's balance in life, no?
That is very cool. I remember leaving the place, and I was just graduating high school, and that time we don't have WeChat. I still don't have...
You had QQ, right?
We had QQ.
You don't have WeChat?
We didn't have WeChat. It wasn't a thing yet. It became popular in 2013 or 2012.
True.
It was still a QQ time, and Skype was mega popular. You know, I was talking to my parents with Skype at that time.
I do it until now. I still call my mom with Skype.
I had a Nokia phone.
When I went to China, I had a Nokia phone.
Yeah, I had a Nokia, and
flip open. So cool.
There was no like this. I don't know what's that called. Like scanning barcode payment. I have never used it for one time in my life. It's a thing that happened way later. I think 2015 or something.
It's all over now.
Yeah, Even my mom is telling me like he doesn't go out with cash anymore. He
Me
just go with
neither.
his.
I haven't seen the ugly banknotes for a long time.
So I don't know what's going on. Like a lot of things they send me picture about like Nanjing and the neighborhood we used to live in. There's nothing recognizable. There's nothing left. Like those things I told you about. Those like
It's all gone, yeah.
there's nothing left. That bathhouse is gone. Like
How
it's
about your house?
gone. They not
Uh,
only demolish it. The thing is, they demolish it and they do something with the landscape as well. So they move the soil around. So some used to be a hill. They're not even a hill anymore. You know, like you can't even tell. Like what's a general like. Sometimes even if you demolish the building on top, you can still kind of tell. Oh, there used to be a bathhouse here. No, they can do so much thing with the landscape. Like you're totally disoriented. Every shred of evidence is gone.
You know why this happens?
Yeah.
It's because at least in Shanghai, everything gets developed in big lots. Like they don't ever build a house. They always build compounds.
Yeah.
Compounds have underground, which is a good thing. In Tallinn, you never can have parking underground because neighbors don't talk to each other. In Shanghai, you don't have neighbors. You buy a square kilometer of land and you develop it. So you build the underground. If you build the underground, means you destroy everything. So it's always, like, for me, the fun thing is, what I learned in China is that when you have a project, it doesn't really matter where it is. You just always take it to tabula rasa, empty space. Even in the middle of the city, it's still empty space. So even if you have a neighborhood, maybe it won't be for very long. For one. Second, the neighborhood is so generic you shouldn't care. Yeah, so that's the sad thing. You have 5,000 years of culture and it's just being like eradicated.
So what has happened in the past 12 years? Like
in China?
Fill me in, like in Shanghai specifically. Like,
well, we have a different president now, right? It was Hu Jintao that time.
Yeah.
Now we have Xi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't vote for him.
Could you?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
I did vote for my president too, but I like the one who got it.
For him.
Oh, not every country has a vote for president.
Mm-hmm.
Estonia doesn't. That's why we have good presidents. If you would have to be liked by everyone, that's hard. That's why our politicians are shit. Usually. What has happened? It's just all this Shanghai, all these neighborhoods. It's like where we live, this former foreign concessions area. It's so clean. What happened with COVID is that the number of foreigners is super low now.
Really?
Like in Shanghai, we used to say that these foreign areas, they're like foreigner areas. Like you have bars where foreigners go, you have bakeries where foreigners go, you have French bakeries, you see French people going there.
Mm-hmm.
Because we used to have very, very, very many French people in Shanghai. The number is so small now. Like in the area where I live, you see only Chinese now. If I see a foreigner on the street, I'm watching too. It's like, oh, Lao Wai. So the number of foreigners is less. So China has become more Chinese in a way. But everything is so clean. Really clean. Because they paint the facades very meticulously. Every 5 years, there's a scaffolding goes up, they paint the facades.
Really?
So Shanghai has become very clean now. The old quarters are going, there's not too much left. Except the ones that are really fancy, they're like the Bunds, or like Nanjing Road. The dirty Shanghai is gone. I miss it.
Yeah.
I miss the thing like my biggest remind me to ask you about Chinese food in Tallinn, okay? I miss this thing like when one of my friends, my Estonian friends, dragged us to eat on a street. I remember it was Xinjiang or Xizanglu. No, not Xizanglu. Xizanglu is a major, big street. It was I think it was Xinjiang, very small street, and you had these shabby old houses on all sides. And then what happened in the evening was that the intersection was filled with tables, like on the street, right? They just put tables and you sit there.
They come out at night.
Yeah, like a night market in South China. And it's dirty, but the food is so good, but it's cooked, so it's clean, right? It's cooked in Canada. At least there's no germs, right? And the food is so good. And now everything is so neat. Like, if there's a street, it's a big street. So you can't put tables on it because the cars run over you. Like, it used to be much more cozy outside the foreign
So those
area.
street vendors are gone?
There's not too much of it. Like where I used to have next to my office, I used to have a guy who makes you pomegranate juice. So I developed a habit of drinking pomegranate juice every day. And now I need to travel kilometers to get a shop where they make it.
Is that the same guy?
No, it's just that we need to look for shops. Before they just came on the street because you had these illegal things happening. You know? Like on Nanjing Long, my first home was on Nanjing Xilo, very fancy place. The ugliest house on Nanjing Long I was living. So when we moved in, I could watch an interesting thing happening around my house. We had this CD sales people, people selling CD, like these pirate CDs.
Yeah, bootleg
just
ones.
in front of my house, right? So they had some kind of code that it was always Besame Mucho playing outside my home. Like I lived there like 3 years, it was all Besame Mucho. I finally got used to having Besame Mucho. Then sometimes it changed and it was Que Sera. And then they had this code that there were these 3 places where they were selling, and when the song was changing, they knew police is coming. So the police came here, and the vendors, so they were like running around the house. And they couldn't get rid of the guys. Now they're gone. So you don't have these street vendors too much anymore.
Yeah.
This is something. It is cleaner, because if you have one guy doing the fries on the street, the street gets dirty because it's all oily, right? Oily and the smoke. But this is Shanghai, no? It's dirty and lively.
Before we change the topic, I want to answer your question about
the food?
Chinese food in Tallinn.
Yeah. Do you miss it?
In short, no.
No?
Yeah, I only eat home cooked food because
like just for introduction, this is a Chinese guy.
Yeah, I'm Chinese.
Like 80% of his culture is food.
Yeah.
80%, I would say.
Maybe even more. 80 is a very conservative number.
Really?
Yeah, I'll say 95.
You know, I'm Estonian, 5% is food only, right?
Again, that's a bragging number. I'll say less.
There's still 5%, okay?
But we were so poor growing up. Like, my parents would only cook because we were so poor. We couldn't afford to go out and eat. And by the end of the month, every month, we don't even have money to buy anything. So we'd go to our grandma's place and pretend we're just visiting. And all we did was eating.
Oh,
yeah.
Free food, right?
Yeah.
But it's your grandma, your parents had to help her, no?
Yeah, they help with the cooking, and but they don't provide the material.
And it was good cooking.
It was good cooking.
And you are tempered to like it.
But it was simple, and it was kind of like different from what I later known as staple Chinese food. We never had those things that people are thinking of when they think of Chinese food. We always had a very kind of, I would say, just some staples that are only known to our household, like fried rice with eggs, and it's very simple. With
That's not just your house. It's
not so many
something new.
ingredients. It's very simple. We had noodles, but it's not like extravagant noodles. It's just noodles.
Yeah,
maybe
but
with
that's the best noodle. Is just noodle.
yeah,
No?
with a little bit of soy sauce, and there's not like layers of flavors, and there's like spiciness. I was actually
No spicy.
I was actually shocked with spice when I actually eat like more Chinese food outside of China in Japan. I was like, this is not Chinese food. This is awful. This is making me sneeze. And they were really simple. And when my mom cooked a chicken, he was always steam it, and without anything besides just like a little bit of salt. And he likes things kind of like just in its original flavor. In that sense, I'm more used to Estonian food because here people also don't overcook.
But they put too much salt.
Yeah,
It's very salty here.
My mom is like that too. It's just salt and not so much anything else.
Okay.
So yeah, I think I don't miss it because I was never pampered with all those complicated dishes that take hours to cook. And later when I was exposed to that culture where some of my friends would point me at certain menus and I'll be like, whoa, those are like art. I'm not even sure I should eat those because
just watch it.
Yeah, they're made so beautiful. You can like cook and then you can make some kind of carving on it. And they made the plate so aesthetic. I'm like, nah, I don't know if it's edible.
But the simple Chinese food, you don't get this in Estonia at all.
Well, we do. Those things I know how to cook, so I don't even need to go out and eat.
So you cook your own Chinese food?
I make noodle. Actually had noodle right before I come and meet you.
Oh, why didn't you take it?
It's not good. I don't think anybody who have eaten outside of China would be impressed by the flavor.
But you
I like it.
Bought the noodles or you stretched them yourself?
That's too much.
Is it?
No, I don't. I don't stretch the noodle. Hey, that might be a good idea, actually.
I have a friend who just invited me to go stretch noodles, so it must be not very complicated.
I think it's very complicated.
Is it?
I don't know.
You just need to know how to do it.
That's interesting. Last year I did made the dumplings myself.
That's complicated.
That was
how do you...
easier than I thought.
Really?
Yeah, it was easier than I thought. Even though it wasn't very delicious, but it was not that complicated, to be honest. Make the dough and all that.
Why not so delicious?
I think there was something off about like the condiment. I think the portion need to be. I was too cocky. I was like, no, let's not even taste it. Just roll it up and then we put it in there and see how it goes. It didn't go well. I think I could taste too much of the meat and not so much of any condiment. But yeah, I mean, I could taste. I could eat it well because I'm used to it.
But if you go out in Estonia, do you find the food you get good? Or you already know where to go and you don't experiment too much?
No, I generally don't eat outside. Even when I travel, I try to cook myself.
Even when you travel?
Yeah.
You go to Barcelona, you cook your food?
I actually bring some of my own condiment in a little bag, a portable bag, with just some of the very essentials I need. So I go wherever and I could kind of just go to the grocery, get some essentials.
Can you describe, like, you going to Barcelona, what is in your bag?
Little bag
for food then?
Some salt, some pepper, ground pepper, and a little bit of sesame oil, some cooking oil, and a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of soy sauce, light soy sauce, dark soy sauce.
And you always have this on you?
Not always, but if it's more than a day trip, I will have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's not too complicated, nothing crazy.
Actually, I like the idea that you go to a strange place.
Yeah.
And you have to do grocery.
Yeah.
Because every country it's getting less now, but it used to be that every country is so different in the grocery store. Like, I still go in Estonia. Like, with my boyfriend, we used to develop this thing. We went to Vietnam, we go to supermarket. It's like the best place you go, you know.
I know what you mean.
So it's like, all these things, all these fruits they have you have never seen. But imagine you go to Barcelona and you go to Santa Catarina not to look at the market but to buy stuff. Good idea.
I recently been to Thailand, and going to grocery store was one of the biggest pleasure. Like nothing else. We didn't go to any of those tourist attraction, but we go to grocery every day because I was just so eager to get something to eat.
But then you need a home to cook.
No, it's just simple stuff that I think we didn't really need to cook, and if we did, we'll try to figure out something, like maybe something that is easy to cook, But yeah, in Thailand we didn't do a lot of cooking. It was just like...
I'll try this next time I go traveling. That's a good idea.
And also I like to have some certainty when I'm traveling. When everything is like looking new, like at least I know there's something I can count on. It's my little bottle of salt. Yeah. But,
really?
Yeah. But here I haven't tried any Chinese food restaurant, to be honest. I get asked a lot.
All these years?
Yeah, not even a single one.
Not even a single one?
I never been to any Chinese restaurant that is run by Chinese. There's one Chinese place that is not run by Chinese, and it's a chain restaurant, and they serve Indian food, Chinese food, and Vietnamese food all together. It's just called Chi, and it's popular. They got like everywhere. They got this everywhere. Sometimes I buy their stuff, but it's exotic. It's not even Chinese to me.
But Heinz is Chinese, no?
Never been there.
They even have Chinese cooks. You can speak Chinese. They are from Sichuan.
Never been there. I don't know.
I felt like kind of home, but the most home in Shanghai, in Tallinn, I feel in a Korean restaurant.
Yeah?
Because it's close to here actually. It's on Deliski Street.
Really?
Is a guy who is a Korean guy from Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan. I don't know.
I think I heard about this place.
Like he's the Soviet Korean. He's not Korean. And he's a bit old, so he's doing like home cooking. It's fairly expensive, I would say.
Yeah?
You pay like stuff that,
Is it called Han Cook?
No, it's called Ariran.
Aliran.
I think Ariran is like hello or something in...
Cool. Never been there.
Maybe you should come for lunch.
I think that's a good idea. I like that. I mean...
And his cooking is Estonians hate it. But I feel like his cooking has a home feeling.
Yeah?
Because it's not like this Estonian style Asian food. Simple, very spicy. If you take kimchi, it's really spicy.
I don't handle spice very well.
Okay, but then we don't take kimchi.
I get it. Wow.
This place I like because Heinz is really Chinese food. I have this feeling that, but because I'm from Shanghai, I don't need. I can say I'm from Shanghai. It's 12 years now.
Yeah, say that.
If I'm not from Shanghai, what have I done there 12 years, right? So, our food is more, right? It's less spicy, it's more sweet. It's very sweet. I hate that part. They put sugar everywhere. But it means it's not very flamboyant in taste. Like you have jianxin. Jianxin is very simple, right? It's not... Of course you have very fancy jianxin places, but my favorite is you go on the street to take guojian. And it's like...
We have those, yeah.
Like, how can guojian be so delicious? It's just like, it's super oily and...
Simple.
Yeah. It's awesome, no?
It's raw.
Raw, what do you mean?
I mean, it's very, straight to your face,
Not very fancy,
Yeah, it's not like delicate kind of a dish.
So this is for me Chinese food. I don't like. Sometimes with friends we go to these fancy restaurants in Shanghai. I just don't like it. Like you pay a lot, you get this round table. There's lots of stuff on the table, but why do you need to play with food?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And that's the experience I never had in China. And hearing you saying this. Is there a lot of fancy restaurants these days in Shanghai? I assume there's a lot.
As I say, 95% of Shanghai culture. I expected that you are more cultural people,
Uh,
that you are more cultural person. So I said, gave you a lower percentage. But I think for a general Shanghai resident,
uh-huh.
95% is food, and it's getting fancy.
Huh.
You have lots of fancy restaurants. You go out with your friends, you go out with your colleagues, and it's always this because you need to show off, and people have salaries, so they can show off. Because the balance of salary and food price in Shanghai is really like I can take 10 friends to a fancy restaurant in a Shanghai way fancy, like fancy in Shanghai, and I can treat them, and I don't notice it too much on my bank account.
That's great.
In Tallinn, if I take 10 friends and show off in a fancy restaurant, there's nothing left of my salary, no?
It is expensive, yeah.
Yeah, but in Shanghai, food is relatively cheap, even in fancy places. Like you go to Michelin places, and
Uh-huh.
still you can afford.
I got no idea because, wow,
The salaries are really good in Shanghai.
I got no idea. Wow.
So every time I come to Tallinn, I'm like, okay, you have nice price. You know, euro numbers are very small,
Yeah.
right? And then you see like, wow, what are your salaries? How can you survive here?
Man, I almost feel like we're living in different time because the China I remember was the time that when I go to Pizza Hut with my mom, we gotta save up for the entire month for that.
To go to Pizza Hut?
Yes.
Oh.
That was a very different time.
But it's also you were a student that time,
Uh-huh.
and your parents were doing working class jobs.
Yeah, exactly. And at that time, I think Pizza Hut was branded as like high end.
But my friends are not doing working class jobs.
High end stuff.
I think it's still a class society in a way. Like you have classes, they don't mix.
Mm-hmm.
Do we mix here? Do you have working class friends?
I think all my class are pretty working class. Everybody works.
Yeah, but what kind of job they do?
I don't know. In school, most of the people.
Because, for example, in Shanghai, my friends are usually like architects or like they all do office work.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody does cleaning job or is working in a storage or somewhere.
My friends are university lecturers and an MMA fighter.
In Tallinn?
Yeah. So I don't know.
Is that a job, MMA fighter?
I guess it's a job.
He does it for money?
You fight for money.
Okay. Interesting job.
I guess.
Getting paid to beat people up. Nice.
But yeah, I guess I have like some questions that I have been just burning to ask you during this entire interview because even living outside of China, I have been always concerned with the country. You know, somehow I still feel people say that when you leave a place and go somewhere else, you kind of like feel different. I feel like I expanded. I don't feel different. I still feel 100% Chinese. But on top of that 100%, I maybe gained 25% Estonian. But it doesn't dilute that 100% Chinese in me.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I just expanded. I feel bloated, but I still feel very.
Yeah.
I still feel very, very Chinese. No, nothing has been left. Nothing left the system.
You just don't know. Go back and see.
Maybe.
Go back and see.
That's a good point. I don't know.
I come back to Estonia, I have to control what I say. Because we, especially talking of politics, there's, 9,000 kilometers, there's a difference. I have Russian friends, I have Chinese friends who never been abroad. We discuss things, and when you discuss things, it's not always like this. You meet, right? But Estonian people only meet Estonian people, or foreigners who are from the West. So you've changed, I'm pretty sure. But